Before we get started here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa women's basketball post-game coverage here live on YouTube and, of course, podcasted on your favorite podcast platforms. I want to thank Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm in Des Moines. Rates have never been this low with auto insurance. That's a direct quote from Brad himself. Give him a call and see how he can help you and your family save an extra $1 on auto insurance, renter's insurance, business life insurance, and more. They've been in business since 1999, as long as Kirk Ferentz has been at Iowa. How about that? Visit Brad online, www.bradvanmeter.com. State Farm, the official insurance company of Caitlin Clark and Hawkeye fans across the state of Iowa. Give Brad Van Meter a call, 515-256-6480. Also want to thank our sponsor, Iowa Smokehouse. They've been with us through football season. They're with us for men's basketball season. They're with us through women's basketball season. It's a great company, folks, and they care about great products, quality products, whether we're talking about their meat sticks. I had some of their barbecue sauce over the weekend, their sweet honey barbecue sauce, and I need to get some more of their salsa. They've got so many great products and some jalapeno flavors, some cheesy flavors. Check out the variety, folks. Visit iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse, and use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order from our friends down at Iowa Smokehouse. So the Iowa Hawkeye women with a really impressive game tonight. And I know some people on the outside that don't follow the sport avidly might look at this score and say, yeah, they're beating a G5 team or a mid-major team by 40. Big deal. But people who understand the sport and understand anything about this Florida Gulf Coast program, this is a good team that they beat today. I tweeted out at halftime, Iowa was up 40 points at halftime, just about. Keep in mind, this Florida Gulf Coast team, see, they won yesterday, beat Delaware. This is a team that had 4 losses all year last year. 1 conference loss in the ASUN, won the conference regular season, won the conference tournament, then went to the NCAA tournament, knocked off number 5 seed Washington State, advanced to the second round where they lost to a 4 seed. This is a good program. All right. And they lost some from last year. I know they have at least one player on the preseason ballot. They were picked to win the conference as well. Again, this year, unanimous pick both by the media and the coaches. And Iowa absolutely throttled them tonight. And I know a lot of people probably who are joining us here did not get to watch the game, unlike yesterday when the game was actually broadcast by Flow Hoops on their free YouTube channel. Not the case today. So that was their little, I want to call it bait and switch, because that's not what it is, right? Just kind of give everybody a taste, and you get that appetite for watching basketball on a Saturday evening, and then they pull it away from you. So it's $30 a month. And so basically Iowa fans who only care about the Iowa women this week, they play $30 for a couple of games, and you call it a day. I did that. I did my best to find a free trial somewhere. I do not believe there's a free trial of Flow Hoops. So you might have to bite the bullet if you didn't get the game tonight. If you want to watch this rematch tomorrow, because it's Iowa and Kansas State tomorrow night, if you want to watch that rematch, got to get Flow Hoops. And Flow Hoops is pretty sneaky. I think it's a ripoff, frankly. And I state my mind. I'm objective on this show. Flow Hoops is not a sponsor of this show. I think it's a total ripoff. $30. And by the way, $30 plus tax. So it ended up being, I think, 32 something per month. You compare that to like BTN Plus. If you're just paying for your school, you only pay $9.99 a month. And the broadcast quality is very similar. The announcers are, okay. They're okay. They're not great. My guess is they're not making a whole lot more than what the BTN Plus crew is making. If they're making anything, I don't know what the arrangement there is. But I digress. It was still really nice to see Iowa win this game and win this game comfortably, authoritatively. We saw people like Taylor McCabe really get it going. Man, I'm impressed with Sydney Falter. We got a lot to get to on this show, and I can't go all night. I want to catch the last part of that Iowa State football game. Snow Bowl, as Hawkeye Howard reached out to me during that game, said, "Did you see the Snow Bowl down in Manhattan between the Cyclones and the Wildcats? Close game, 1-score game right now at halftime down in Manhattan between the 6-5 Cyclones and the 8-3 Kansas State Wildcats." But we're here to talk about Iowa women's basketball. Again, we have our sponsors to thank for it. Also, RTI Threads. I'm once again wearing the Cooper DeJean apparel. Check out the wide selection of a young man who's dealing with a serious leg injury and was recovering from that leg injury. Check out his line, his merch line at cd3lacesup.com. You can also check the lines of Aaron Graves, Carson Shire, Aiden Hall, Zach Lutmer, rtithreads.com. This RTI Threads company, folks, they are evolutionizing Iowa NIL. Like, along with what the Swarm is doing from an individual standpoint, they're doing so much with Iowa athletes and more to come. And they're partnering with some young talent. I mean, like, these are some of the best prospects. Talk about guys like Aaron Graves and Zach Lutmer. Like, these kids, there's people who have talked about Zach Lutmer maybe being the next Cooper DeJean. Obviously, really big shoes to fill, but the kid's got speed. Aiden Hall's a kid who was wanted by some military academies, was wanted by Minnesota. Small town kid out of Harlan. Harlan's got some great Iowa, great football roots, I should say. Anyways, check it out, rtithreads.com, and support these young athletes who are the future of Iowa football. All right, before we get to some of my comments, let's kind of do things differently this evening. We're going to get to the chat, and I see a few comments in the chat already. If you want to ensure your comment gets on the screen and we talk about your comment, I should say, we're going to try to get through most of the comments this evening. Super Chat is one way you can donate, and as little as $1.99 to throw up your comment. We'll address it live on the air here, but we do have a call-in line thanks to Iowa Smokehouse. So let's go to our first caller of the day. By the way, the number is 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601, or you can click the link in the description below. But let's go to our first Iowa Smokehouse caller. James is on hold as always. James, thank you for being faithful to the show.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man?
First off, I have a lot of interest in the Iowa State game as well too, because one of the kids on Kansas State I happen to coach in basketball, so
okay.
I'm going for Kansas State, obviously, but that's just because I know him personally. But
yeah, well,
anyway,
you also got a former Hawkeye on that team.
Yeah, he got a catch too. At least one that I've seen. I don't know, but first off, like you said, Taylor McCabe, I think is probably Taylor and Gabby hitting threes is a big story, obviously, but Taylor McCabe hitting 6 threes, I think, is something you didn't expect. Like, she can shoot, but obviously 6 threes is something that's always going to help you win games. I mean, you won by a lot anyways, but I'm saying, like, if she even hits like 3 or 4, that will help you big time.
She's either hitting threes and scoring points, or she's not. There is no in between for her, and her basically her only points are going to come from behind the arc. Today, Gabby was 4 of 5 from 3. She really doesn't take twos. She doesn't draw fouls, and she's going to give you something defensively. But today just 1 steal, 1 assist, 1 rebound, and a turnover. But you're right, those 4 threes. If she can knock down 3-4 threes a game, this team's got a chance to be great. I mean, this was a great performance. I don't know how good Florida Gulf Coast realistically is. Are they as good as last year? Maybe not. But again, they're preseason picks to win the ASUN once again. And, again, I go back to what I saw from Sydney Falter. Are you as impressed with her as I am, James?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel like the one thing I'm kind of surprised about, and I'm going to be honest with you, is that I thought, and maybe this is just me, I thought with Hannah, I would have started her over Molly. And I know maybe that sounds crazy, but I feel like she's rebounded better. And I feel like Molly probably comes off the bench a little better, if that makes sense. Like, I would have started her over Molly just for that reason.
Yeah, maybe. Molly was really good tonight as well. I mean, she had, I will say that the one negative with Sydney and with Molly is they each had, let's see, Sydney had 3 turnovers, Molly had 4. But, like, if they're playing this up-tempo and this efficiently from the field, you can live with turnovers. Like, tonight they had...
They shot 60% from 3. Like you're not going to get games to where you shoot 60% from 3 like that. Like,
yeah, 61% from the field, 61% from 3, had 24 turnovers. So you want to cut those turnovers down, right? I mean, that's obvious.
Especially when you play better teams. Like, obviously, tomorrow you can't... You definitely do that. You're going to get blown out the gym. So it kind of makes it more...
I don't know. I don't know about that comment, James. I don't know. I think if they shoot 61% from three tomorrow, they're not going to get blown out of the gym with 20 turnovers. This is just how they play. Like
Yeah.
at some point, and here's the other thing: talk about rebounding, 43-20. Florida Gulf Coast. I don't look at that team and look up the roster. They've got some size. Some of their reserves are, brought in some length. But in general, I didn't expect Iowa to be able to dominate as much as they did in the glass. Had 30 out rebounded them defensively, 32-12. Part of that is that Iowa didn't miss shots. I mean, that's part of the problem. And Florida Gulf Coast shot 33% from the field, 23% from three. So 25 assists to 6.
Yeah.
Do you
know?
Incredible.
Do you know how long Stokey? Did she say anything about Stokey's timeline? Did you know if Bluter said anything about it or not?
I have not heard anything. I didn't hear from Bluter following the game, and no, I just know it sounded like on the broadcast that it is an ankle. She was not dressed today, and my guess is that she probably will not play tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big loss in a game like that, for sure. But
she struggled last time against Kansas State, so she wants to get back out there. But I'll tell you who needs to really play well. It's going to be a lot of pressure on Sharon Goodman. I thought Goodman was really good tonight, maybe her best performance of the year. And I say that, and you say, well, how could you say that? She only had 8 points, 5 boards.
But sometimes it's not all about, as a coach, I know it's not all about points. Sometimes it's all about effort. Sometimes you're giving and just doing the little things.
Efficiency. She was perfect from the free throw line, perfect from the field, 3 of 3, had 5 boards, just 1 turnover, 8 points, added a block and an assist. I just thought she was played under control, played within herself, and didn't play like there was a lot of pressure on her. Without Stolke and with Goodman in the game, you might think there's a little bit more pressure on Iowa's true bigs to perform, but not the case. And I thought O'Grady was okay. I still just I don't know what's going on with her. I feel like she's just maybe got a confidence issue right now. She was 4 points, 2 of 3 shooting, but right now it's clear Sharon Goodman is the better of the centers.
Yeah, and I
about that right now.
I definitely can agree with you on that. And obviously, the one good thing too about this game, and like we said yesterday, I don't know if did they pull the starters better this time than they did yesterday, or
no?
All right.
No. Nope.
Well,
nope. Yep. 42 points. Let me tell you something. They were up 40. Well, they were up 47. I don't know when that 47-point lead came, but I believe that was in the third quarter. And let me just see here. So 47-point lead. I tweeted out toward the end of the third quarter.
I seen that tweet. You said they need to get Caitlin Clark out now.
Caitlin Clark should not play another second in the game. Well, she wasn't in the game, I don't believe, when I tweeted that.
Did she come back in, though?
In there, and then they put him back in. They put him back in the fourth quarter.
What do they? I understand, but you don't need them when you're up 47. You should not need them against a team like that if you're up 47.
Well, what do you mean you understand? What?
No, I'm saying I understand that you should not need them, is what I mean. I understand your point of understand your point of
I would love to hear, and I understand that Lisa has defended it, and her line of reasoning has made no sense to me. Someone just, please, I'm begging someone to call in and explain to me why the starters have to play it all in the fourth quarter. Why are they required? They started the fourth quarter, and I don't remember if they were in to start the fourth quarter, but you literally saw Jada Gyamfi out there, and
it's also my bad. Sorry, it's also like you said too. The fact is, you play tomorrow against a Kansas State team who already beat you earlier. Don't you think you'd want to give those people even more? Like they played already. Don't you think you want to give them even more rest? To be more rested and more ready to go.
Well, why didn't Hannah Stolke play tonight?
Probably to get rest and to be.
No. Why didn't Hannah Stolke play tonight?
I mean, she was she's injured because she was in last night when she shouldn't have been in.
Injured in the fourth quarter of a game where they were up 40 last night.
I get what you're saying.
How do you I just don't know how you defend that. I don't
defend that because I feel like
I'm not. I know you don't.
Yeah, that already got you one star. One of your star players injured. Who knows if it's 2? And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Caitlin Clark tore ACL or something being in a game where she shouldn't be in, that's on Bluter. What I mean? And you don't ever want to think about it that way, but you also know you can avoid it by not putting him in a 47-point game.
Again, I have nothing but good things to say about the game tonight.
Yeah.
I continue to remain frustrated with that.
Yeah,
because
and
I
obviously,
bite them in the butt last night, and I just don't want to see it bite them in the butt. And I understand this idea. Well, there's risk in everything we do. I just think that's a little bit faulty in reasoning, but this is what they want to do. They obviously have a rotation in place, and they don't change it based on lead.
I mean,
So
there's a risk in everything you do, right? But why make the risk greater?
correct. I don't know.
That's what they're trying to say. But everybody's gonna say you're nitpicking, so you might want to stop talking about that because you know how they are in here. But
Who's saying I'm nitpicking?
I said, some people in the comments will say you're nitpicking just because we won by 40 something. You're nitpicking.
Well, but that's why it's so frustrating because they're
Yeah.
up 40. They played unbelievably great.
For
Great.
sure.
I mean, they were so efficient from the field, and I think what's most impressive about this performance is they scored so many points. Were so efficient one day after, a game where they scored about 100 yesterday. So
Yeah.
like this,
But I
team,
feel like yesterday was a little different in retrospect of they struggled early a little bit. It kind of was like a back and forth early. This game really wasn't back and forth early. It was just a
No,
beat down right off the bat. You know what I mean? I think that maybe was a little bit better to see. They didn't really back and forth. They just it was just a beat down early in the game. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, obviously. And if I'm glad to see Gabby get going because I think that's big. She struggled in some games here and there, but as you said, her and Kate are kind of streaky shooters. So they get going for a couple games here, and then they'll go over in the next like 2 games. That's how they've been in their Iowa career. So especially Gabby.
Keep in mind that Iowa was up 42-10 about 14 minutes in the game.
Yeah,
42-10. So
yeah, that's a beat down for sure. But
frankly, I wouldn't be surprised, and this is I would attribute this to good coaching. Frankly, I think it was probably a point of emphasis after yesterday. If you're going to nitpick at anything from Friday, it would be, hey, we kind of got off to a slow start. We let Fort Wayne kind of hang around for too long, and it appeared like that was a place of emphasis today. And boy, they executed the plan. If that was the case,
for sure. And I know this is a women's basketball show, but what's your thoughts on us playing Michigan? Since we know who it is.
What do you think my thoughts are, James?
I know what your thoughts are, but obviously you don't like Michigan, I know. But
I'll tell you what, I can't stand Michigan. I can't stand them. And I don't mean the people of Michigan. I'm just talking about Michigan. I want everything in me. With everything in me, I want this team to shock everybody. Like anybody who wants to question my fandom and, you want to see Brian Ferentz fail. I want to see them win by 50 next Saturday. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But I'm so tired. I had somebody from Michigan text me this afternoon. Your guys are going to get creamed next week. I'm like, you're a Michigan State fan. Why are you ripping me? Your team is hiring a new coach. Anyway.
What do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
What, the new coach for Michigan State? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, Oregon State's been really good the last couple of years, and Oregon State doesn't have a conference moving forward.
Yeah, I know that's the reason he left. That was my thought, was he was in the league because they have a conference, but I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on that hire from them.
I don't know enough about him other than that he's been successful at Oregon State, and Pac-12 has turned into maybe the best offensive conference. It had been the Big 12 for quite some time, but Pac-12 teams have been scoring a lot of points, and Oregon State's been pretty darn good. So, it's we thought Mel Tucker was a great hire out of the Pac-12, and then that kind of came back to burn him. And you just never know. Some of these things are, Nebraska's thought they've had their guy for a couple times now, and it hasn't worked out. So,
that's just Nebraska fans being delusional, but that's what they usually are. So,
Angela says, "Congrats to Blue. Win 500 tonight. Did I miss that? Was it 500?
Yeah, it would be 500 because she was 2 away coming into this. So yeah,
that's what you get. That's what you don't hear. Maybe they brought it up, but that's what you don't.
Probably not
broadcast because
it's not as much of it's just a term. I'm glad I didn't pay the $30. Obviously, I would have loved to watch the win, but I'm not paying $30 for 2 games since I got the last one last night for free, and I just don't see no need in it. But happy to see the win, and obviously, hopefully, we can get one tomorrow against Kansas State, who's had our number the last 2 days, and hopefully, Kansas State has Iowa State's number tonight. As much as I don't know, I just don't want to see Iowa State win this game for some reason. But anyways, it was fun, and hopefully we can beat Michigan on Saturday. I know it's a long shot, but you always got to have hope a little bit.
Hey, James, are you going to be around this next week?
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing live shows out the wazoo.
Well, okay, I won't be around this next. I won't be around. We have games Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know what you want me to do. I got a job to do.
What? Quit your job.
I
Quit your
love-
job.
Nah, I need
Why would
money
you
though.
not?
I gotta pay bills.
Whatever.
But you know me, I always catch up on them though.
Okay. All right. Make it up to me.
I will. But all right, I'll talk to you later. And good to see the win. And hopefully we can keep going. Do you know what do we have this week going on, like for basketball games? Other than tomorrow.
Yeah, the men play North Florida. Is that game on Wednesday? I believe the men play North Florida Wednesday. And that's pretty much it. I don't think the women are back out there. I've got the schedule up. The women don't play again until December 2nd, which would be Saturday.
That'd be Saturday, yeah.
So they play tomorrow, and then they have about 5-6 days off, and they play Saturday. The men play once in there. So I'm perfectly fine with a quiet week because
who do they play on Saturday? The women.
They play Bowling Green.
Oh, yeah, that should be an easy win. But
yep, and that will be a FS1 game. It's amazing from here on out. Basically, all these games.
Well, it has something to do with number 22 as well. I mean, that kind of
it does
helps you a little bit. But
yeah,
Kansas State is driving. Just so you know,
game after that on Wednesday, December 6th, is the game here in Ames.
So, see, I don't have nothing going on Wednesday nights, so I should be able to catch all the shows on Wednesday nights if you got Wednesday nights going. But anyways, I'm saying Kansas State's driving right now, so if they score, it'll make it a two-possession game. So it's kind of hard to see what yard line they're on with all this snow, so I can't really tell you where they're at in the field. But
and ZJ in the chat says, I believe Iowa Radio said Hannah was day-to-day, so maybe she does play tomorrow, and maybe today was precautionary. But this was heading into this game, I'm sure Lisa Bluter, Jan Jensen, and company had a lot of respect for this Florida Gulf Coast team and believed that they were the real deal. So my guess is Hannah is dealing with, some pain, and if they can get that ankle wrapped, and I'm sure she'll have a brace on tomorrow if she does play, but they need her healthy for the stretch run. If they can get through tomorrow without her, then she's going to have a little bit of a break. Probably can rest her until the Cyhawk game, which is a week and a half. So
yeah, and I don't think you would need her against Bowling Green. So if you're risking anything, I think you could just rest her and play her for Iowa State, like you said. And obviously, the men got a tough stretch coming up with Purdue and Iowa State and all that too. So hopefully we can see things go. And I'll talk to you later. I'll let you get to the other callers and go Hawks tomorrow for sure. It'd be good to get one. I don't want to be 0-3 against Kansas State in 2 years.
Sounds good, James. Appreciate you being here.
Yep.
Oh, I got you before you sat down, Tony. I'm going to kick you back out. I just wanted to do that.
Oh, that's fine.
You can't even hear me. I'm going to bring you right back in, Tony.
Oh, whatever you got to do. What do you need?
You're gonna be put back into put back in a timeout real quick. We'll bring you out when you're ready to behave. So
okay,
we'll
sure.
Back out. I love messing with some of our regular callers. Tony's a great guy. He understands. The fake MVP. I'm sorry, the real MVP. Sorry, the real MVP. So they didn't watch this game, but it didn't look like much of a game. Well, boy, it was not. And I did not expect this. As I said earlier to our first caller, James, Iowa was up 40-22 to start this one. 40-22. And as Lisa says in the chat, can't wait for a Kansas State rematch. Iowa was not shooting well when they played Kansas State last. Now they are ready to go. And I think part of that, Lisa, I agree with you. Part of it, though, was that, Kansas State plays Iowa really well. They seem to understand how to give Iowa problems in the interior. But I agree with you. I think we're not going to see an Iowa team score, 58 against Kansas State this time around. I have a sneaking suspicion Iowa may dominate tomorrow. Is that overconfidence? Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call online. Tony is out of his timeout.
Hey, to answer James' question, I don't know if you did. They did mention it was her 500th win. They did on Flip.
Oh, they did say it. Okay, yeah. I tuned it out when that broadcast crew. Not much better than the BTN Plus broadcast crews. Can we agree on that?
We can agree on that.
Like, I so wanted to call Gary Close and say, hey, can we get a quick flight down to Florida? We can cover that. We can do this game tomorrow night because I can't deal with it. But
you would have needed to get Jess, too.
Yeah, Gary, myself, and Jess.
Yes. Yes. So, in celebration, I have the champagne of beers. We're popping champagne because of win 500.
I'll tell you what. Miller High Life, not Miller Lite, right? Miller High
Miller
Life.
High Life, yes.
And that is exactly, that's all the beer I saw growing up. Well, whenever I was with my grandfather, that's all he had was Miller High Life, not Miller Lite, Miller High Life. So
have you been to the High Life Lounge in Des Moines? Have you been to that High Life Lounge in downtown? Yeah, there's a Miller High Life. There used to be when I lived there, the Miller High Life Lounge. Maybe it closed. It was by El Bait Shop and by where the Iowa Cubs play. But anyways, moving on.
Before you move on, I want to make very clear, Darrell MVP brings this up in the chat. He's absolutely right. Florida Gulf Coast, this team that lost to Iowa tonight by 40, this team beat Kentucky by double figures here. Let's see, when was that? Like a week ago? Beat them by double figures. Can't do the transitive property always, I get that. But beat them by double figures just a week ago. That's it's impressive. That again, I stand by it. This team is a good team, and this team will probably be an NCAA tournament team again.
The Florida Gulf Coast you're speaking of.
Florida Gulf Coast, absolutely.
You know, their opponent, Iowa, will definitely be. They lost to USC at USC by only 4. And USC is a top 21 team. Yeah. And they beat Kentucky
by 11.
Fort Myers by 11. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe
I don't know, man. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any question. They had an off night, but I think they were. I mean, it was like 40.
They were outclassed. Yeah.
How many timeouts were called throughout this game where it was like you could tell the FGCU coach was just like no answers because they'd call a timeout and then I would come right back out and go on an 8-0 run or something like that. Like there were no answers, and so many. I mean, Iowa had 24 turnovers, but during the major runs in this game, some of those turnovers came late. During the big runs for Iowa in this game, it just seemed like Florida Gulf Coast, every time they'd have maybe an opportunity to put together a 4 or 5 point spurt, they'd get an illegal screen or a turnover themselves. And you just can't win when you're trying to get, first of all, you got to get stops, right? And it's hard to out rebound your opponent when, you know, your opponent's shooting that well. So it obviously starts with on-ball defending and off-ball defending. But, yeah, it's just it's pretty impressive what this team did. I just can't imagine this team coming out tomorrow and struggling again offensively, even though it's the same Kansas State team. And maybe I'm reading way too far into a couple of wins against mid-majors.
No, but it's also, you know, you got a very comfortable feel for the shooting backdrop, the arena. You feel very comfortable. You're on a roll, you know, things like that. I can see why you would have the confidence, and I don't think I disagree with you. But I think I have a stumper of a question for you. Which basketball coach's rule do you feel is more dumb? Fran's 2-foul rule or Lisa's rule that all the starters should start the fourth quarter?
That one.
Okay.
That one makes no sense. That one makes no sense. Fran McCaffrey.
The 2-foul rule you can actually defend.
Absolutely. Do I agree with it all the time? No. But I'm in no position to say, Fran, you're wrong. Like, I know some people want to say that. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, well, okay, sure, that's your opinion, and that's fine. But can you really tell me, Tony, that it's defendable to put your starters back in a game where you're up 40+, and you have a generational athlete who's one knee injury away from just – there's risk in everything. I don't buy that. But anyways.
I honestly don't even think they should play the second in the second half.
That's fair. Honest. What was the score at halftime?
It wasn't even close. It was like a 30 or 40 point game. It wasn't even like you could tell.
50. No, listen to this. 55-19 at halftime.
Yeah, you could defend not even playing in the second. They didn't even need to play in the second half. There's zero reason.
55-19 at halftime. Oh my goodness.
There's zero reason for that. You could have defended that more than starting them in the fourth quarter, not playing in the second half. Go ahead.
You can play, like, you can't just, they don't have enough players to just, first of all, do they have walk-ons? Like, who are the walk-ons?
I don't think they have anybody, but
okay.
They could have made it through. I mean, you could have sat like Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall, and Caitlin Clark.
I guess I'm just
maybe not.
Forgive my stupidity on this, and I'm supposed to be some authority. Somebody please explain to me why there are no walk-ons listed on the roster, because that does complicate things a little bit, because you can't play, these younger players for the entirety of the second half. But I certainly don't think Caitlin Clark. I just don't know why in the world she would set foot on the court. Like, if your backups are going through a spurt where they're struggling, your freshmen are struggling, okay, fine. Put Kate Martin back in the game to kind of hold down the fort, or Molly Davis, or even a Gabby Marshall. Why risk Caitlin Clark's? I don't care if it ends up being a 20-point win. They totally collapse. You're at 40 and ends up being a 20-point win. You won by 20. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Anyways.
No, that's true. You listened, obviously, to the Flow Hoops. It was very clever of them to sneak in. Oh, when everybody's paying for subscriptions, sometimes people just forget to cancel their subscriptions, and everything's going subscription based and blah, blah. Like they had like a little 30-second blurb where the guy was talking about how, more and more of these games are on subscription based services while they're broadcasting a game on a subscription based service, and talking about how sometimes we forget to cancel our subscriptions in our bank account and stuff like that. And I just thought
it's funny. I must have really tuned that out, because
it was like middle of the third, when the game was just cruise control. I want to say it was like middle of the third quarter.
Let's not overhype these subscription services that are currently in place. Like, BTN Plus is putting games on between Iowa and, IUPUI, and, Iowa and Norfolk State. Like, they're not putting big games on. Now, Flow Hoops is going to get a big game tomorrow with Iowa and Kansas State. They got a big game today with Kansas and UConn. I think UConn, who do they play tomorrow? Do they play like LSU? Do they play UConn and LSU don't play tomorrow, do they?
No. LSU's in some different term. I have another comment about them, but I guess we can segue to that one.
Well, just real quick, let me finish, because the bottom line is, the reason I bring that up is, with the exception being Peacock, they're not what other streaming services are games exclusively on? There are still games on ESPN, BTN, Fox, NBC, and yeah, maybe eventually we get there. But Flow Hoops, is there another thing out there like Flow Hoops right now?
No, not
I'm
to my
not
knowledge. I think they have a exclusive partnership with the Colonial Athletic CAA, the Colonial Athletic Association.
Right.
So, and I know at one time you could actually use the CAA website to get a heavily discounted Flow Hoops subscription. But they know, of course, that's not up during this preseason. But I would bet in a week or two that heavy discounts.
Heavy discounts.
Well, I mean, I think it was like $12.99. That's a pretty big discount. I mean, that's 50% off. Like, you could have got it for $12.99 last year with the CAA package versus the $30. $12.99 is a pretty decent discount. We were saying the segue to LSU. Did you see Miss Reese is still not playing?
Well, I watched a little bit of their game. Was it earlier today? Because they were on Flow Hoops, and Virginia. I didn't see her out there. I saw Anissa Morrow play, but I didn't see Reese. And I've heard a couple of quotes from Kim Mulkey, and I just had to shut it off. I can't stand listening to her. I just can't stand listening to her.
She posted a TikTok video, Miss Angel Reese did, and it was in a pink robe, a bathrobe, in her like dorm room, where she voice-overed Deion Sanders' speech talking about, I don't care what you think about me, or blah, 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 blah. It was like, holy cow, you're not this big time at all.
She's in a bathrobe?
Yeah, she's like in a pink bathrobe or something like that. And then she's got like a neon sign that says like Bayou Barbie. It's definitely her dorm room or her apartment. It's on TikTok. Like, you could easily Google it and find it out there and stuff like that. It's not a good look at all. It's not.
Well, frankly, what we're seeing, maybe, I don't know exactly all the details of what's happening with LSU, but what we're seeing right now as it relates to turmoil and perhaps some problems between the head coach and between Angel Reese and maybe some grades, could you potentially say, hey, this is the problem with the current NIL situation with some athletes and some situations? I'm not saying that it's just the money that she's making. But I've seen multiple. How many times have you seen on Twitter or on social media On3 their valuations, and they've got Angel Reese like exponentially higher than Caitlin Clark. So I'm guessing they're not far off. I'm guessing there's money coming in from different places. It's a lot of money for someone who has maybe struggled to stay focused on academics and stuff anyways. I don't know. That's just me guessing.
The way I understand it is Caitlin Clark's valuation on On3 is laughable compared to what it is in real life. They do not have an accurate representation.
I'm sure they don't.
The thing that to plug the Swarm real quick is the Swarm, you don't get paid until you actually do something community service wise. It's not, here's a McDonald's bag of cash like they do in the South or other conferences for a while now.
Now, real quick, just to be clear, I understand what you're saying. The Swarm and these collective are set up a little bit different than
some are. Yep.
How some are, but also how just private deals work. Like Caitlin Clark can cut a deal for State Farm, can cut a commercial for State Farm, and she's entitled to money. And that's all she's got to do. So I'm sure Angel Reese has cut commercials for different companies and has gotten paid. And that's kind of how that works when you're a celebrity. You know, it's not like every NIL deal is fundraising and going out and signing autographs and different things. But I get what you're saying.
But I'm pretty sure most of these other schools do not have it set up the same way as Iowa, where
you could be right.
Even the guys, like, I mean, for example, whatever Caden Proctor's deal was, I'm pretty sure it wasn't set up the same way that the Swarm deal was.
Well, I can tell you this. I found this out not too long ago, within the last couple of weeks. I didn't know. Maybe this was out there and I just didn't know. According to a pretty darn good source within the Iowa State program, not every scholarship player at Iowa State gets paid from their collective.
That does not shock me.
From the We Will collective or whatever that's called.
That does not shock me, seeing how they approach fundraising and stuff like that. We'll just go with that. They're scraping pennies, it sounds like.
By the way, real quick, before you go on with your next point, I need to put a plug in for our player of the game. Taylor McCabe this evening with 14 minutes of floor time as Tony cracks open another one. 14 minutes of floor time, 18.6 of 7 shooting, and I think she would have made more than 6 had she shot a couple more down the stretch. There's a reason we could see this evening why she was Miss Nebraska coming out of high school, and I think she set the record for all-time three-point makes in Nebraska in high school history, I think. So RTI Threads player of the game, Taylor McCabe. Maybe we need to give our friends over at RTI Threads a call and have them set up a deal with Taylor, because they're just down the. She's from Nebraska, not far.
They're in Sioux City, you said. That's what
they're in Sioux City. Yep.
Okay. And do they have like a brick and mortar store, an actual brick and mortar store?
Great question. That I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have to. I don't think so. Not a store per se, where you can go in and browse selection. I think everything. That's a good question. I need to follow up on that.
Because I wouldn't. I mean, it's an easy trip for me to get down to Sioux City.
How far is Sioux City from Sioux Falls?
Hour 15. The nice thing about South Dakota is our interstates. You can go 80.
Yeah.
So you
not just South Dakota, basically any of the states out west, right?
Yeah. Montana used to be no interstates, and then people are saying Reese is with Reebok. Didn't Caleb Johnson, the football player, have like a big deal with Powerade before the year too?
He still does. In fact, after he knocked off that big run last week against who was at Illinois, I saw there was a social media post from him about whatever it was.
Powerade or whatever.
Yeah, we get Powerade running on the field, whatever.
Something like that. So will we see you tomorrow night, I'm guessing? I'm assuming? That's
the plan. I got an engagement. I'll be out of town for part of the day, but that is the plan. It may be a delayed post game, but I'll be here for sure. Too big of a game not to.
Yeah, I mean, revenge, obviously. I don't even know, you'd think they'd put like women's basketball lines out. I don't even know if they've came out with one for that game. You'd think they're pretty.
ESPN's probably got one because they have their own. No, I don't see one on ESPN. I don't even see women's basketball lines on ESPN. I don't know.
Let me look.
I see no odds.
here.
I don't see any odds for any of these games. And
I'm not able.
It's 5-16.
Today's
I'll be
Sunday.
interested to see how Florida Gulf Coast plays tomorrow against North Carolina. If Florida Gulf Coast comes out and beats North Carolina tomorrow, that game is an early game, 4 p.m. Central Time. That will be impressive. Did you notice, one other side note, did you notice that the announcer tonight said the championship game tomorrow would be at 9:30?
There's no way even with time zones. Like their website says 7:30 Eastern.
It's 6:30. Is 6:30 Central?
6:30, same as our yeah. If we would have kept it's the same time every. I just someone said check FanDuel. I was just checking DraftKings. That's what I was scrolling through on my phone. And DraftKings.
There might not be yet. I mean, this game just went live. We didn't even know what the matchup was.
But I mean, it's an NFL Sunday. You're just finishing college football. They lag behind in the basketball lines.
Yeah.
Very early in the season. So. Well, yeah, I mean, I did get my $15 worth since I got screwed out of the free show yesterday.
Hey, I told you I bought it, Tony. So
I know. I obviously tell you did.
Did they charge you 32 something instead of just 30?
Yeah, whatever tax is or whatever. Like that, of course.
32, not 30. It's 32. So, anyways. Okay, Tony. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, no. That's good. Yeah. Have a good one. I'll let you get to other callers, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow and throughout the rest of the season. Are you going to do like a hangout show probably for the football championship?
Most likely at least one, maybe two, and then we'll also have at least one podcast. It's going to be a busy week. That's why I said to James, I'm really glad there's not men's and women's basketball games. Like there's the one men's game, I believe. Did I have that right when I said Wednesday?
That sounds about right, against North Florida or something like that.
Yeah, so the men play, I just want to confirm that, the 29th. Yes, Wednesday, November 29th, 8 p.m. on BTN. So, of course, be here for that. But
yeah, and there's nothing really. I mean, then they got the Purdue game the following Monday after the Big Ten championship. So, yeah, okay. Sounds good. I think that's all I got. So, yeah, have fun. We'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, Tony.
Enjoy your evening. Yep, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Angela, yes, RTI Threads, North Sioux City, basically Dakota Dunes, virtually across the bridge from Sioux City. So technically, all right, I'm not a native of Western Iowa, so I always get this wrong. My wife and I, on our way out of town, I'm trying to think. We went through Sioux City, and I'll admit openly here, it's the only time that I've ever gotten a not a red light ticket. I've got a speed cam ticket from the good folks over at Sioux City. It was late at night. I was tired, really tired from the wedding. And apparently I was speeding. The whole town was like one big construction zone. So anyways, but yes, there's a difference between North Sioux City and Dakota Dunes, Sioux City. Gotcha. Thank you for clearing that up, Angela. Appreciate that. Let's go to, before we get to multi-sport, Mike and Kai O Hawaii. Again, our RTI Threads player of the game this evening is Taylor McCabe with 18 points in just 14 minutes, 6 of 7 from the field. And appreciate RTI Threads making our player of the game possible all year long. I love this facet of the show, something we haven't done until this year with football, men's and women's basketball. They're sponsoring our player of the game each and every night, and happy to give Taylor this award. I think she's going to have more in her future. Very young, very talented, sharp shooter, and she was tremendous tonight. Made some contested threes. She is maybe not the three-point shooter that Caitlin Clark is yet, but she's more of a pure shooter. And just to kind of rattle off some other numbers here, Sharon Goodman had 8 points on 3 of 3 shooting, along with 5 boards. Molly Davis, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. She's a stat sheet stuffer this evening, 3 of 4 from the field. Caitlin Clark played 26 minutes, 7 of 14 from the field with 6 assists, 6 rebounds. Gabby Marshall made 4 threes. Kate Martin had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Let's see. Addison O'Grady had 4 points, 4 rebounds on 2 of 3 shooting. Sydney Falter, 12 points, 4 boards on 4 of 4 shooting. She was 3 of 3 from behind the three-point arc. Kylie Feuerbach, 7 points, 3 rebounds, and assist. on 2 of 5 shooting. And then AJ Ediger, Jada Jimphy, and Kenise Johnson Etienne all logged minutes. No points for those 3, but they all did play. And getting those young players an opportunity to play in that fourth quarter. I wish I'd get a little bit more time. I think in a game where you're up by 40, basically at halftime, people like Jada and AJ should be getting more than 7 and 9 minutes respectively. But that's my opinion, especially in a tournament setting. But I guess I can't complain, right? You win by 40 and get out of Dodge. Hopefully Hannah Stolke's injury from yesterday is not serious. Multi-sport Mike. Cory, what do you think about the Michigan touchdown that was stripped? Horrible call. Woman looked good tonight. Women looked I was going to say, wow. Women looked good tonight. Great job spreading the wealth. Women did look great tonight. I'll be quite honest with you, Mike. Excuse me. I missed the first half of the Michigan game. Had to text good friend Mark Rogers to kind of get caught up. And I did hear about the call, but I've not actually seen it yet. So obviously I'll go back and watch that first half prior to pregame coverage for Iowa, Michigan this next week. But man, there have been a lot of questionable calls in college football. I just think about some teams close to our situation. Iowa, of course, has been affected. Iowa State against Kansas had a terrible call where Jalen Knoll was said to have stepped out of bounds. He clearly did not on the replay. And then there have been some of these calls that have just been questionable at best. And there were a lot of reviews in that Ohio State-Michigan game and a lot of close calls. I did see the fumble by Julian Fleming. Probably in real speed, I would have called it incomplete. They called it complete and said there was no conclusive evidence to overturn. Probably the right call by review. But I will go back and watch that, Mike. Appreciate your comment. And Kai O Hawaii, since K-State, Kate and Gabby have been getting it done. If you recall that night, they had 2 between them. Kate's been on fire. Gabby's held her own. Tomorrow is revenge. Go Hawks. Yeah, she's been Kate's been better, and so is Gabby. Gabby, I will say, yesterday I believe was 1 of 3. Am I right in saying that? 1 of 3 after yesterday, I think. So in general, I have that right? No, I believe she was. Let me look at the official box score. So against Drake, Gabby was 0 for 3. So you're right. In large part, you're right, Kaya Hawaii. She did have nothing against Drake, but has played better down here in Florida. And example of that today with her 4 threes and 12 points. All right, folks, if you want to join, give us a call, 515-635-1601. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Example of that with her 4 threes and 12 points. All right, folks, if you want to join, give us a call, 515-635-1601. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thanks for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Hello.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, I'm on the air?
You are on
I'm
the air.
sorry.
Did you mean to be on the air?
Hey. Yeah, aloha. Hey,
Aloha.
So, I just wanted to chime in on 2 things.
Okay.
Regarding Kim Mulkey, I agree. I mean, I used to think she was cool. I mean, last year she sent flowers to Caitlin, but since this Angel Reese thing, I don't understand the silence. Once it's come clean and tells what's going on. But I wanted to chime in about coaches playing their starters in the fourth quarter. I mean, they're in a tournament. They're playing a championship game tomorrow, and you got to keep that sharp. You have to. And I'm almost 100% certain. She said, go in there, go through your motions. Don't try to be superstars. Just get it done, and we'll just stay sharp. Just stay sharp. That's it. But I agree with you. You don't want to risk. You don't want to risk. But they're in it for the long haul too. I mean, they got a whole season ahead of them, and they got to get their conditioning in as well. It's early in the year, and I think they showed signs of fatigue early on. It's not there as much now, but anyway.
Yeah,
I love your voice, brother. It's good to hear. Take care. I'll take your response up here, okay?
Appreciate you calling in, sir. Yeah, and I don't disagree. That's probably what Lisa said. And I just don't agree with being so rigid, especially a day after what happened with Hannah Stolke. To me, I just think, in a situation like that, what are we? How are you staying sharp playing your girls for 3 minutes, start of the fourth quarter? You can tell a player to play it cool and don't play hard, but do you really want to tell your players not to play hard? And if they're not playing hard, it could be very easy to become injured because you're not playing hard. Like, it's actually, I don't know if people who have played sports even at an amateur level know this sometimes. Like, sometimes you can get worse injuries playing flag football than playing tackle football. Like, that's just legitimate. I mean, I'm telling you that from personal experience. So I don't know. I'm not trying to rip on anybody, but I would just think that what happened yesterday with Hannah Stolke might have been a wake-up call that there's no reason to play your best players when you're up 40, but I digress. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Bob from Des Moines.
Hey, Bob.
I was just going to tell you that flow, I got it. I subscribed for it for the year because I'm a big racing fan, and they got all the grassroots racing on from all over the country.
Okay.
And I think that's mainly what their money stream is.
And they do a lot with wrestling, I believe, as well. So
yeah,
if you buy for the year for racing, you also get basketball.
Yeah, you get everything.
Okay, that's a little bit better. Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, I thought the women looked good tonight. I don't think they had much competition down there yet, but
we'll
see tomorrow.
Yeah, it didn't appear so. Like I said earlier, Bob, that Florida Gulf Coast team beat Kentucky here a week or two ago and really challenged USC. We'll see what they do tomorrow against North Carolina, but Iowa did not make that team look very good tonight. You're right about that.
And as far as the football game Saturday, I don't think it made any difference who won today. I don't think they got much of a chance against any of them. I'll root for them and hope they do. But
yep, a lot of fans are going to agree with that, and I happen to agree with you to a large extent. 2 years ago when Iowa played Michigan, I kind of had a gut feeling that they'd compete, and they came out and did not whatsoever, lost by 39. I have even less confidence this year, but as you mentioned, Bob, they have deserved, they've earned the right to play in this game, and so the game needs to be played.
Yeah, and hey, stranger things have happened.
I can't think of any, but I'm sure you're right.
But yeah, that's about all I wanted. I was just listening to you guys and talking about flow and stuff, and I think they just picked the basketball and stuff up here about a year ago. But they've been around for a while.
They have been around for a while. I think they were doing basketball several years back, but they haven't really. They've expanded the coverage. I think our earlier caller mentioned they have a partnership with the Colonial Athletic Conference, and so I don't know what their future is. Maybe they'll hang around and be prominent in a few years. I think it's kind of an odd name for a sports site, but I guess people probably said the same thing about ESPN back in the day, right?
Yeah. Are you a racing fan at all?
I once got my picture with Rusty Wallace.
Hey.
Other
then
than
maybe
that,
you've heard of Kyle Larson.
I know who Kyle Larson is. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not so back when I used to work FM AM radio, Bob, we carried all the NASCAR games or NASCAR games. See, that's what I'm calling them games. NASCAR races on Sundays. And so, I mean, I knew a little bit about it because of our audience then, but I've never really been into racing. I kind of, I was a John Force guy when I was younger. I liked watching drag car and funny car and whatnot, but not really a NASCAR guy.
Well, Larson and his brother-in-law, his name's Brad Sweet. He's like the 5-time World of Outlaw champion. That's the best of the sprint car drivers that tour the country. They went together and started a racing series, and it's going to be on Flow.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, those are the types of
So.
concepts that if you're a company like Flow Hoops, if you can partner with some big names and maybe you're taking a chance on some people, but it's got an opportunity to sell big. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I won't take no more of your time. Go Hawks, and I hope they do well tomorrow.
Sounds good, Bob. Thanks for the call, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Casey says the opening line for the Big Ten Championship game next week is 21.5. 21.5. How about that? Mentioned our RTI Threads player of the game, Taylor McCabe. Do want to take another moment to thank our sponsor, Iowa Smokehouse, and their awesome snacks. I've been talking about them a lot. I've got some meat sticks still in the fridge. I've got some, steak bites left. And I've got my bacon ketchup and my barbecue sauce. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get refilled here very soon. And you can do that by visiting iowasmokehouse.com and use the code Hawkeyes at that website for 15% off your total order. Tasting is believing with all their great products. And be careful. Eat in moderation, drink in moderation, as we always say. But certainly experience how tasting is believing with our friends Iowa Smokehouse. All right, let's go back to our phone line, back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Cory, this is Zach. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Zach?
Good. Unlike you, I did not purchase Flow Hoops.
Okay. That's understandable. Frankly, can I ask you, can I tell you something quite honestly, Zach? If I wasn't doing this show, I may not have either. But I'll say this, I would be really bummed out that I can't watch that game tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good one.
Well, it's just a great storyline, right? Great storyline.
Yeah.
And two teams that are playing red hot basketball right now and played each other in a huge upset game a week and a half ago. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and I know I put an answer in the chat with your question about walk-ons. I think there is also might be a roster limitation for women's basketball. At least I think there used to be.
Why would there be a roster limitation where you can't have walk-ons?
I think I think there used to be something involved with how many scholarships you could give out. I think the last time I remember Iowa having a non-scholarship player maybe was mid to late 2000s, where I think at the time Iowa only had like 6 healthy players, and Lisa actually had to have open tryouts during the middle of the year to actually get bodies on the court.
I'm counting the numbers here. 9, 10, 11, 12. 13. Why am I counting? So they have 14 players on scholarship? That can't be right. That's including Ava Jones, who is on scholarship. So,
right.
What am I missing here? Is it 14 for the women and 13 for the men?
I thought they were equal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at that again after. Maybe I'm counting wrong here on the air. But all these people, I mean, AJ Edgar is on scholarship, right?
Yep.
Obviously, Jade is on scholarship. I mean, all these ladies are on scholarship. So I don't know why there'd be roster limitations when the men can have walk-ons. I just don't get that. But I don't know. To me, the time when you need walk-ons is nights like tonight, where you just need to get players out there and get the game over with.
Yeah, and I mean, I listed on the Iowa Radio link on YouTube, and it sounded to me, and maybe you can, maybe you might differ from this. I think it sounded at the end of the third quarter, at least like the last 3 minutes, was just turnover city for Iowa.
Yeah, they piled some turnovers on there with the reserves, but that's some of the trial by fire and learning, head first against a good team. I mean, that's for those players to be able to go up against Florida Gulf Coast. That's a great experience. And I'll tell you what Taylor McCabe did, albeit in garbage time, could really pay this team big dividends down the stretch. Yeah, and I mean, with her being, she is what Melissa Dixon was for Iowa back in 2014-15. She's brought in for one reason: shooting. Yep. And you make 6 threes on 7 attempts, you're going to be pretty happy. Yeah, because that was what Melissa Dixon was. She was a shooter that when she was on, I mean, I think
her senior year at Drake, she hit 10 threes in a game. Multiple times, I think she hit 7 in a game that year as well. She had the shot that Taylor does to where it looks like it's going in every single time.
By the way, William Neary in our chat says 15 women's scholarships, 13 for men, according to Google. So that's something I did not know.
Okay.
And Copper Stacker says that Zion Sanders was a walk-on a few years ago before earning a scholarship midway through her career. She was the last. They just have too many players this year. So apparently, since they're allowed,
I forgot about Zion Sanders.
Yeah, apparently since they're allowed more scholarships, they have a smaller roster limit because the men have 13 players on scholarship, but they also, I'm trying to think of how many players they have on their roster. The men have, they have the Kingsbury.
They have at least 2 or 3 walk-ons, don't they? Laquetta.
Yeah, Laquetta. They have the Hutchinson kid. They've got Kingsbury, and they've got Javone Carter.
Yeah.
So that's 4. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to look into this further because that's very odd to me.
Yeah, it is, but whatever.
Yep.
And like you said, FGCU, they're a really good team. It seems like, and I think they pointed out on the Flow Hoops broadcast last night, they're a team that seems to live by the 3 and die by the 3.
Well, they were dying
and
tonight.
They kind of died by the 3 tonight.
They did. They were for the game. FGCU was, I'm looking at the wrong stats here. They were 7-31. So 7 threes in a normal night wouldn't be terrible, but for a team that's dependent on it, not great. Obviously, shot 23%. That's not great, and giving up 20 threes to Iowa is really bad.
Yeah,
for an
and
Iowa
if they
team
were
for an Iowa team that has not consistently shot the 3 ball yet this year.
Yeah, and again, unless Flow Hoops was wrong, they said too last night that Florida Gulf Coast as a team was going to run up and down. If Hannah was not close to being 100% healthy, that's not a game you'd want her in either.
Well, yeah, but
just
sure.
To have her running up and down.
Not healthy.
No.
She's not healthy, absolutely not. But that's the problem with playing her when they didn't need to play her, right?
Yeah, and yes, and I do agree with the caller too before that. Lisa does have that reputation of that first couple of minutes, even in a blowout, where she just wants to get. I think she wants to get that rhythm back for a couple of minutes and say, "You're good. Have a nice game. I get your point too." All it takes is one slip.
Yeah, I mean,
one opponent with bad intentions.
So I'm just curious. Explain what you just said to me. What's the point? What rhythm are you trying to re-achieve beginning of the fourth quarter by putting the scholarship or the starters back in the game?
I think just getting them back into the flow of the game for a minute or two, just making sure that they're not just. I know, no.
But yeah, I mean, who cares if they're in the flow? They're not coming back in the game. You're up by 40. Anyways.
Yep. But yeah, that's in. If this were Big Ten tournament time, I don't see Lisa doing that.
Okay, I hope you're right,
But that's I think if this were Big Ten tournament time,
but that doesn't make it any.
This would be
that doesn't.
It would be bench mob the rest of the game.
That doesn't make it any more defendable because the whole point of taking them out in a blowout is because you're going to have limited opportunity to save health and save energy and availability later on in the year because you're probably not going to have Big Ten games where it's a 40-point margin.
They might have. I mean, I can see like last year was Penn State and Rutgers. I can see those being those kind of blowout games again. But yeah, most of the Big Ten's going to be probably knockdown, drag out till the end of the game because the Big Ten, the Big Ten's a hard conference no matter who you're playing. There are a couple of very weak teams at the bottom. And I do agree with you still on. I still don't know what's going on with Addison. I wish she could find confidence. Hopefully tomorrow night playing against Ioka Lee again because both her and Goodman held their own against her last time.
Well, they need to play better than they did last time, but they're definitely going to need both players, especially if Stokey's out.
Yeah, and I think I knew there was a rumor that there was some sort of a flu bug or something going through the team against Kansas State. Not an excuse to lose, but being at that game as well, Caitlin just did not look she did not look healthy, period.
It's funny, real quick, I just want to say this comment on the chat. Lisa brings up the ISU-KSU game. It's now 35-35, start of the fourth. Iowa State just scored a touchdown. Abu Sama, I commented on Twitter here a few weeks ago that as an unpopular take to my followers, ISU has the best running back in the state of Iowa, and his name is Abu Sama. I stand by that. He's got 13 carries for 273 yards.
Holy crap.
Wow. Wow. So, anyways, anything else, Zach?
Nope, not tonight. So hopefully I'll be probably listening on YouTube radio again tomorrow night. Hopefully they can pull out the 3 wins in 3 days and then rest up for the Bowling Green game next Saturday. I think originally that game was set for the afternoon or nighttime. I know it's now 12:30. I'm assuming not to schedule conflict.
Yep. I saw that as well.
Okay, well, have a nice evening there, Cory. Hopefully we'll be seeing another Iowa victory tomorrow.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate the call. All right. Before we get to our final caller of the night, want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. If you haven't given him a call yet, give him a call or visit his website. Let's get this comment out of the way so we can give Brad his due. And he tells me that auto insurance quotes have never been as low as they are right now. And in this world of inflation and higher prices on everything, any place we can save money, do so. And you'll get great service from a great guy and Brad Van Meter and his team, saving people lots of money. They spend countless hours taking care of their customers and meeting their clients' needs annually, even meeting with those clients to review coverages regularly and make any needed changes. Visit him online at bradvanmeter.com or call him at 515-256-6480 for a free quote today. All right. Also want to thank RTI Threads. I mentioned them at the outset. And again, if you don't have your CD3 laces up gear, get it now. This guy's going to be a star. I really believe that he's going to be a star in the NFL. I don't know who he's going to play for, but I cannot imagine Cooper DeJean not being a star in the NFL. Look what Jack Campbell and Sam Laporta have done. And this kid is one of the greatest players I've ever seen play. Visit cd3lacesup.com. And it's got the Cooper DeJean signature as well and a wide variety. They even have some It Wasn't a Fair Catch apparel. You can also check out Aaron Graves, Carson Shire, Aiden Hall, Zach Lutmer. Those guys, merch lines, apparel lines, rtithreads.com. Browse all of RTI Threads products and do so today. Get your orders in before a big Cyber Monday for this Western Iowa company. rtithreads.com. Let's go to our final caller of the night. Thank you for calling our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, Cory.
Lomansky, how you doing, sir?
The sacrifices you make for your podcast are immeasurable.
Really? Well, I'm missing the Iowa.
You only have 11 minutes to watch the rest of the Cyclone game.
Well, now that you're on the phone, I'm only going to have like 5 minutes to watch the Cyclone game.
Well, say that I can get the hell out of here in a hurry so you can enjoy your Saturday night football.
I'm just giving you a hard time, Lomansky. You know I'm joking.
Well, I'd be the same way. I'd be serious about it.
Hey, I enjoy a good game in the snow. I hope it goes to overtime.
What's really interesting, Kansas State has 3 times the time of possession and the game is tied. The Cyclones have like 4 or 5. The graphic I didn't totally catch. 4 or 5 plays over 60 yards. Do you remember playing football in the snow when you were younger?
I remember playing football on ice. I've never remembered playing football in the snow. I love the idea of being at a game with snow. I remember going to the Iowa-Purdue game in 2015 when Iowa wrapped up the West Division that year, and the bleachers were filled with snow, and there was a big snowstorm the night before, but I've never been at a game where it's actively snowing as much as you see down there in Manhattan. I think it's cool.
So Matt Campbell's, he's got this parka, like you're out in the blizzard walking in Western United States, and his hoodie isn't up, so it's been down. And it's full of snow. It's hilarious. He's walking around and like he's collecting snow in the back of his hoodie. It's hilarious.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd be mourning that as well if I was Matt Campbell, because to have a game with that much snow in late November, I recall a comment that Don Patterson has made. I don't know if you remember this, Lemansky, but one of his final, well, it was one of his final games at UNI or at Western Illinois, but one of his biggest games was a playoff game against Colgate. And of course, Don Patterson in Western Illinois wanted that game moved indoors, and Colgate said, no, we want to play outside. And it was a blizzard. And of course, Colgate won. And it's hard to play in those conditions. I mean, it changes the game. And I mean, Abu Sama's kept that team in this game. He's got a run for 71 yards for a touchdown and a run for 77 yards for a touchdown. They also have a pass completion to Jalen Knoll for 79 yards and a touchdown. Abu Sama also has a 60-yard run for a touchdown. So he's just breaking stuff off right now, and looks like they're going to get the ball back again.
Well, every Thanksgiving when there's more snow in Iowa back when you were a little kid, we used to drive from northeast Iowa up to the Twin Cities to visit our uncle and aunt, and we would play football in the snow because there'd be snow in Minneapolis every Thanksgiving. And so you'd run or pass the ball, and when you tried to, tackle somebody or two-hand touch, you would go sliding by, and that's exactly what's going on. This running back for Iowa State, he just makes the cut and everybody goes sliding by. It's almost like the circus.
Well, I'll give him credit. He's by far the leading rusher in the game, so he's been the difference.
I guess what I'm going to lead into next and get off here so you enjoy your night was that we don't talk about it enough. We don't think about it enough. But I'm going to share your disdain for Michigan. It's really grown this year. And part of it's the fan base. I've watched Steve Dace's show and his defense of, Michigan against the world and downplaying, what's going on at Michigan. And of course, I go back by sitting at the 40-yard line when Iowa was number 1 and Michigan was number 2 and Harbaugh was quarterbacking. So, I don't dislike Harbaugh, but I enjoy he's quirky. But like you, I want to beat them so bad that it's almost taking it too seriously next week. But I'm very, very proud of. Look at Barbie doll embarrassing LSU. Their
Barbie.
Coach is a different cat.
Bayou Barbie.
And Lisa Bluter. Go ahead.
Bayou Barbie.
Bayou Barbie. What, I say something wrong?
You said Barbie doll.
Yeah, but you did. Yeah, Bayou Barbie. Thank you. And, you watch what's going on there. And Caitlin has been so classy after the championship game is how she reacts. Now, you get her between the lines on a basketball court. She's a tough nut. But she's class being interviewed. She represents your university. And one thing about this transfer portal, even bringing in bringing other players, that's why Kirk Ferentz, some people may view him as old-fashioned and protective. I think if we take a step back, we'll understand that culture and how culture can be disturbed. That's what's wrong with LSU right now. And, Colorado's had problems bringing all these people in. That has maybe a lack of depth, but that hasn't worked like maybe some people thought. So we can really be proud of the Iowa program. I've been following Dace and the Michigan podcasters on your show. They piss me off. They just crossed the line. And I know I typed in something on Steve Dace's show about giving Michigan credit for Bump Elliott, who hired Tom Davis, hired Hayden Fry. And he just came at me like, Bump was a jerk and Bump was this. So what's interesting, Steve Dace got on and talked what a great guy Bump Elliott is. And these Michigan people, there's something in the water up there in Flint, Michigan. They've been drinking too much because they're wacky, Cory. They're wacky.
Who was saying that Bump was a jerk?
A Michigan fan.
Well,
after I typed into Steve Dace's show, and of course, he doesn't read everything. And of course, this guy types back in at me, because he addresses it to Lomansky and says, oh, well, I was alive when Bump was around. He was a jerk, and he was, he didn't say cheater, but just, you read Bump's obituary. It's he's accomplished more, and He just ripped me, this fan.
Yeah.
And of course, Steve Dace a little while later must have saw it.
If Harbaugh fans were to call someone else a cheater, that'd make them hypocrites. So they couldn't do that. And the same fans you're talking about, I'm certainly not stereotyping all Michigan fans, but some of those same fans that I know are watching the show you're talking about, frankly, have no idea what they're talking about anything. So, don't feel so bad, Lemansky. They have no idea what they're talking about.
I think Mark Rogers, he's been on the air a lot, but he said if he was younger, he'd have more vitriol as a podcaster. They'd take me off the air because stuff is so stupid sometimes that I don't even know what people do at home.
I don't know if you were watching my show 2 years ago when Iowa went to the Big Ten title game, but if you were not, go back and watch the post-game show for the 2021 Big Ten championship game. Go back and watch that, because just go back and watch that if you want to know how some Michigan fans act. Because we're probably going to see some. I'm getting ready. I'm gearing up. This is going to be an interesting week. I'm going to get lots of now. I'm not predicting Iowa to win this game, so it'll be a little bit less severe. But I'm also absolutely going to poke the bear. You know me.
Oh, you and I were like the Alamo the other night, typing stuff in on Mark Rogers' show. I think it was. Like defending the Alamo against jerks.
Well, I appreciate.
And then you gotta type it the right way. It's hard to do that the right way and still make your point.
Well, I appreciate you being there to support the cause, Lemansky.
Yeah, and I don't want to name any Michigan. That's not classy, but I'm very proud how Iowa fans. I remember Hayden Fry talking about what's the worst venue in the Big Ten. And, he said, I got two stories, and we missed the bedtime story the other night that Erica brought up, but Hayden has two stories about visiting other programs. When he came in and he was having success and he brought passing game into the Big Ten, which doesn't sit well with me, because when Hayden came to the Big Ten, it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust at Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State forgets that. But anyway, Hayden talked about Wisconsin. His wife drove over to watch the game, because you could drive from Iowa City to Madison, and the Madison people saw the Iowa plate and tied her antenna. That's when antennas are on the outside of the cars. And they tied it in a clover leaf. Just took the Iowa plate, saw the antenna, and tied it in a knot. But it was Hayden Fry's wife. And he also talked about going to Indiana, and you go through the tunnel. In Indiana would throw things on the football team, and they dump beer. And this coaching staff had to talk to their players about you can't retaliate. You just have to get the hell out of the tunnel and get on the field. But anyway, we might as well get ready to defend ourselves come next week. But I really want to make that point that I'm really proud of Iowa fans and how we have a classy program. And, I wouldn't say it's Iowa nice, but it's Iowa class.
Amen, brother.
You have a good night. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Lemansky. Appreciate it, sir. Appreciate Kelly giving us an update in the chat. Rocco Beck throws an 82-yard pass to Jalen Knoll for a touchdown. Cyclones lead the Wildcats on the road 42-35. Amazing. Michael says those speed cams in Sioux City are done. They're gone. Construction on I-29 is also done. Good information. Kelly says, my friend and I are splitting the cost of Flow Hoops so we can watch it tomorrow. Keep in mind, I think I read in the fine print of Flow Hoops, you cannot be sharing passwords unless it's people of the same household connected to the same Wi-Fi network. So unless you're doing the whole, what do they call that? I'm not a tech guy. I don't know. Unless you're figuring out a way around that IP issue, the techie people in the chat know what I'm talking about, then you're probably not going to be able to split unless you're just splitting the cost and watching it together. Don, Iowa women have one open scholarship this year, resulting from one transfer not being replaced. And of course, that was Shatea Wettering, who transferred to UNI. Have fun tomorrow at your friend's house, Kelly. And we'll be heading, OS for Hawks. VPN. Always know what you're thinking, right? Thank you for that, OS for Hawks. The Hawkeyes defeating Florida Gulf Coast 100-62 behind a strong performance from a number of players. If you missed my rundown of the box score earlier. Rewind the show, go back and listen to that. But Caitlin Clark led all scorers once again. 21 points for Caitlin to go along with 6 rebounds, 6 assists. She did have 6 turnovers. Turnovers are going to happen at times. They want to cut down on those 24. A lot of those came late. And we hope to get Hannah Stolke back tomorrow. We'll see. She did not dress this evening. The Hawkeyes and the Wildcats set to rematch. The rematch, we're going to call it. Number 5 versus number 16 tomorrow night, approximately 6:30 p.m. Central Time, following North Carolina and Florida Gulf Coast, which is the third place game tomorrow. So on flowhoops.com exclusively. I don't believe it'll be on their YouTube channel. You can certainly keep an eye on it, but my guess is it will be exclusively on Flow Hoops. And I'll be here for post-game coverage at some point tomorrow evening. Appreciate everybody being here. It's been a busy week. We'll cap it off with a show tomorrow night. And again, if you're interested in donating or sponsoring, all that information is in our description. Appreciate you all being here. Have a great night.